Hey guys, you might have already heard about the crazy situation that happened when me and kids were traveling from Belarus back to the US, transit via Lithuania. So we were on the bus and we were detained for a couple of hours because of bringing 3 liters of alcohol, which was absolutely ridiculous. So, the guidelines on the day of the travel stated that transit of alcohol is not prohibited. And our airline allowed 3 liters of alcohol. I was bringing three, but the land border decided they can do whatever they want. And the lawlessness of the whole situation that took place is absolutely unbelievable. So they took us off the bus. They wrote some administrative fine, whatever, some case for it. So it went to court in November. They told me that they were going to send me a link to virtually attend the court hearing. And what happened is the link was never sent to me. There was no communication at all whatsoever coming from Lithuania in regards to that hearing. So they conducted the hearing without my attendance or presence there and informed me after the fact that they are accusing me of violating a criminal code of conduct, and they issued administrative fine. Besides that, they're claiming I broke their criminal code of conduct because I was purposefully smuggling 3 liters of damn freaking alcohol, right? They wrote in that court case that to show that I intentionally was trying to smuggle the alcohol, that I put it in different suitcases. Can you believe this, guys? 3 liters of alcohol, put them in 3 different suitcases because my airline requires to adhere to strict guidelines about the limit of the weight. So I can only have up to 23 kilograms of anything in a suitcase. So even if I wanted to keep all alcohol in one suitcase, I physically couldn't do it. But they wrote that because I put alcohol in 3 different suitcases, that shows that I intentionally was trying to hide it in a suitcase, by the way. A large bottle of alcohol. I was trying to hide it in a suitcase so that they wouldn't find it. So I can smuggle 3 liters of alcohol to bring to the US. That doesn't even impact Lithuania in any way, right? So another thing that they said that they accused me of doing is violation of international trade agreement because I spent 20 euros of my own personal money on alcohol purchases. And per Lithuanian government, that increased the budget of the country of the aggressor. And so that's why they are saying that I violated their international rules of trade there. So the whole case is so ridiculous, okay? So then I was able to appeal the case. So I sent an appeal and I said, look, this is what happened on the day of the travel. This is a screenshot. I have a screenshot that shows your own verbiage that was posted on the website that says alcohol transit is not prohibited. I then explained moreover. I said, first of all, your land border patrol couldn't even tell me what exactly she was accusing me of breaking, what laws I broke. She pointed me at printouts that show that you cannot bring any meat or cheeses. And I told her, I said, okay, but where does it say anything about alcohol? There's nothing here that shows I cannot bring alcohol into the country. So she couldn't answer that question for me. She just kept saying, you broke a law. You broke a law. You're not allowed to bring any alcohol. Well, that's not true. She didn't, again, know the rules of her own country requirements for transport, import of any alcohol, because in my case, again, it was import, import transit. So, I should have been allowed to bring up to 5 liters of alcohol, but regulations for people who are entering the country of Lithuania, they can still bring alcohol. There's restrictions on that, but you can bring either 1 liter of hard liquor or a couple of liters of liquor like under 22%, so like would be wine probably. So people were allowed to bring alcohol. It's not that they couldn't bring it at all. She didn't even know the regulations or the laws that she was accusing me of breaking. And again, she refused to speak with the official US representative that I had on the phone. That was really upsetting. She would never invite the head of the customs to talk with me, even though I requested to do that. And she just kept saying, oh, it's no big deal. I'm just going to write this up. And if you disagree with it, you can dispute it. And if they decide that you're right, then they will just drop the charges. Well, if you know how things work in that country, is if they accuse you of doing anything wrong, they will never drop the charges. Even if they know they're in wrong, they will not drop the charges. They will find a reason to fine you. So now they charged me an administrative fine of 300 euros, which is about $350. And normally when you have a case under appeal, there's no interest charge for that. But apparently Lithuanian government charges also interest on penalties that are even under appeal. So then when I appealed the case, they denied it the first time. And second time that I appealed it, this judge didn't even have a common courtesy to respond and tell me that she wasn't going to accept that as an appeal. So she wasted 2 months of my time without responding or doing anything. And guess what? They're not going to change the interest that's been charged because they just don't do that. But she wasted 2 months of my time, and in the meanwhile the interest keeps growing and growing too. But the whole situation is just absolutely unacceptable. So I reached out to the White House. I tried talking to the Department of State and United States Embassy. And so essentially I had to reach out to the White House because, I think that from the standpoint of American, embassy standing up for defending their citizens, they need to be involved and work with the Lithuanian government to get this crap figured out, because this is absolutely unacceptable. I mean, harassing US citizens traveling abroad is just not okay. And what they're doing is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, they made such a criminal out of me for bringing 3 liters of alcohol, guys. I mean, seriously, I cannot believe we're even talking about this. This incident happened on July 30th of 2025. And this many months down the road, we're still dealing with this, and the problem is not resolved. So I am, still working with the U.S. government to essentially have a discussion with the Lithuanian officials and let them know that what happened is absolutely not okay, and this should never repeat in the future ever again, because it's just like, wow, I seriously cannot believe this happened. If I've heard this, I would be like, you're kidding. There's no way this is even possible. People bring alcohol back and forth across the border there all the time. So I feel like people in Europe nowadays just lost their mind, okay? To be peeking on travelers and detaining them for bringing 3 liters of alcohol. Let's say if allowance was 2 liters and I was bringing a little bit over that amount, usually they would take over the excess and you continue on with your travel. There has never been an issue with writing up an administrative charge or doing anything like this. And, it's the fact that I was speaking Russian, I think, is what irritated them, because nowadays it's like, like they get just upset when they see that there's a person who speaks Russian. Whether you're Russian or you're Belarusian right now, for them doesn't matter anymore. It's the language. When they hear it, they just automatically try to do things for you out of spite. And this is not the first time I see this happening. They peek on travelers. They're at that land border specifically quite a bit. I have seen it when I traveled there myself. I think I gave example in the previous video, where there was a woman, a Dutch woman with her daughter traveling, and they took her, and took her off essentially, and she was so mad. She was yelling at them because they were harassing, telling they were not gonna let her in, which, by the way, again, we were told that because of carrying 3 liters of alcohol that they wouldn't allow us to go through the border. She was threatening that she was going to send us back to Belarus, unless I agreed for her to write up a fine for me. It was so ridiculous. I'm telling you that I just have no words. I have no words, and I'm just disgusted to see that this kind of stuff is happening, that they are purposefully picking on travelers out of spite just to make their life miserable. One of the times I traveled, they held a bus. It was like 6 hours or something like that. And then it was right before we were getting into the customs area. So we were not even given passports for a check, nothing. We're just sitting in front of the entry. And she held us for 6 hours, and then she let 5 buses go in front of us. So that means there's additional 5 hours we had to wait before we could cross that border. And there was, 12, 13-year-old kid on the bus. We didn't have food, we didn't have water, we couldn't go to the bathroom. There was very disgusting bathroom available there that nobody even wanted to go to because there was poop smeared all over the walls. There was no toilet paper there, and it was disgusting. And so I had to give my food and my drink to this kid because I had some extra, and people, they were just traveling through the border, thought, oh, we'll be through in a few hours, but we ended up being there it was a total of 13 hours. That was ridiculous. And that was done out of spite because there was something going on with people who were like private bus operators that do routes through the border, and they probably did not get enough of a bribe that day because they were turning around private buses that were going through, and it was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, can you imagine how nasty that was to do of this person because she had a bad day, to just hold us at the entry for 6 hours and then let 5 buses go through to make our total wait time just on Lithuanian border, to make that wait time be 11 hours. I mean, that was just not okay. But this is the kind of stuff that happens there and nobody talks about it. So I want people to know that this is what life nowadays is like in Europe. And this is not getting any better. So somebody needs to do something about it. And again, make sure that people in those little countries understand that when American travelers are going through the border, they should not be picked on because they're either dual citizens or because they're rich Americans and they just want to make some money on, travelers who are going back and forth. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So that's what I'm working on, and I hope we can make some progress, and we'll see where we get with that.